"1836 was a wonderful time to live in Kirtland, Ohio, a wonderful time to be a Latter-day Saint. The Lord's temple had finally been completed. The church was growing, and along with all the accompanying spiritual blessings, the saints were seeking to etch out a better way of life. Homes were built, businesses established. As a result, demand for land and merchandise increased. Prices skyrocketed. There was profit to be made. Money was scarce, particularly for new converts who were arriving in droves due to the church's zealous missionary efforts, usually without much more than the clothes on their backs.
Good afternoon, brethren. Midas Waters.
Brigham Young, this here's Lyman Johnson.
Morning.
I didn't reckon on meeting so many apostles my first day in Kirtland.
Here in Kirtland, you can hardly take a step without meeting an apostle or two.
Over there is Orson Hyde.
You brethren know where a family of new converts might inquire about a new parcel of land?
As a matter of fact, Lyman, aren't you and your brother planning on selling off a parcel?
We are indeed. Reasonable, too.
$500.
It's a mighty fine piece of land, Brother Johnson. But $500?
Excuse us.
That's awful high. Only trying to better my own situation, Brigham. Nothing wrong with that.
I'm not against a man trying to make a reasonable profit, but there's more here to consider.
Brigham, we don't see eye to eye in this.
This man and his family joined the Church of Jesus Christ. They pulled up stakes, leaving everything they know behind, so that they could come together with the saints of God. And why? Because the Lord asked them to. And then, when these folks finally arrive, they find there's not a dream under heaven that they can afford to stay. And this, because the Lord's very servants want to better their situations. Whose kingdom are you trying to build? The Lord's or Lyman Johnson's? It's gotten hold of your heart, Lyman.
In his absence, we formally denounce the leadership of Joseph Smith. Hear, hear! And declare him a fallen prophet.
Joseph Smith is the prophet of the church, and thereby its leader.
I know it. You know it. Rail and slander him as you will, but you cannot destroy the appointment of the prophet of God.
Now, Brigham, we're gonna overrule you. I mean, David Whitmer is the man to lead us now.
You can only destroy your own authority.
Cut the thread that binds you to the prophet of God,
and sink yourselves to hell.
Quorum President Thomas B. Marsh returned to Kirtland from Missouri to meet with the 12 and reestablish quorum unity.
Parley, what brings you out this direction?
Well, I'm actually on my way to Missouri.
Well, how are things? And the 12?
Heber has gone on a mission to England.
How's that?
Joseph approached him in the temple and called him right then and there.
How could he do that? It is my the quorum's responsibility to spread the gospel abroad, not Joseph's.
Orson Hyde also.
What?
Orson overheard the ordination. He asked if he could be called as well.
I specifically instructed the 12 not to leave for England until I could organize their missions.
just over one.
Seeking the Lord's counsel, Thomas met with Joseph.
Brother Marsh, thank you for coming. Take care of these for me, please. Excuse us. Thank you so much for coming.
Certainly.
Please, have a seat.
Thank you.
The result is section 112 of the Doctrine and Covenants.
Verily, I say unto you, there have been some few things in thine heart with which I, the Lord, was not well pleased. Exalt not yourselves. Rebel not against my servant Joseph. For verily I say unto you, I am with him, and my hand shall be over him. And the keys which I have given unto him shall not be taken from him.
President Marsh accepted the Lord's counsel and labored diligently to reconcile the differences in the quorum. Still, he struggled with his own pride and hardened his heart.
Well, good afternoon, President Marsh.
Hello, Valade. I felt it my calling to come and tell you that your husband Heber will meet with no success in England. The spreading of the gospel abroad is my specific responsibility. As such, the door to missionary effort in England will not be opened until I send someone or go myself.
Pride led President Marsh to apostasy. Before the trials of Kirtland were over, 10 to 15% of the members would become disaffected. In later years, 8 members of the Quorum of the 12 would leave the church, including Thomas B. Marsh and Lyman Johnson. Of those members of the original Quorum of the 12 who were cut off for apostasy, only 4 would later come back to the church: Orson Hyde, Orson Pratt, Luke Johnson, and Thomas B. Marsh. After 18 miserable years such as he could barely endure, he rejoined himself with the saints.
Brother Marsh has asked that he be allowed to speak to you. I have consented.
If there should be any among this people who would apostatize and do as I have done, prepare your backs for a good whipping. How is it that a man such as I, who understood so much of the revelations of God, should fall away? I have come to the conclusion that I lost the Spirit of the Lord from my heart. I became jealous of the prophet and overlooked everything that was right. Looking for the evil, the devil began to lead me. It was easy for the carnal mind to rise up, which is anger, jealousy, and wrath. I thank God that I am back here with the prospect, notwithstanding my advanced age, of seeing the kingdom of God.
Lyman Johnson never did return to the church. While the saints were in Nauvoo, however, he was allowed to speak before the 12 one last time.
If I could believe Mormonism as I did,
when I traveled with you and preached. I would give anything. I would suffer my right hand to be cut off if I could believe it again. Then I was full of joy and gladness. My dreams were pleasant. When I woke in the morning, my spirit was cheerful, full of peace and joy. Thanksgiving. Now it is darkness, pain, sorrow, misery in the extreme. I have never since seen a happy moment.